day 19 of how to get your child ready for school, how to get your child ready to learn and be efficient. And what I want to talk about today is cognitive games and playing them and being in tune with children while playing them. And goodness, we managed to find a free graphic of a brain. We've got to get all the things the children are learning linked to the brain and working together. So the objective is to get the brain using new inputs. So if your child's learning to use sound better, then do lots of singing and games and rhythm. If your child is learning to move their limbs, we need to do lots of limb movement and so on. So for the brain to be actively engaged, number one, it's got to be a physical task. Children move, they do annoying things. They are constantly doing things, and they should be, and they're designed to be doing that. They're not designed to lie on the sofa. They are very active little animals. It needs lots of resistance. So if you're doing something, we need to physically feel it, because the more they feel it, the more they interact with it, the better the links are from body to brain. You want them to be using both sides of the body. And when you're watching them play, please look. Are they forgetting one arm completely and only working with the other arm? In which case you want to create opportunities to get them using both arms. I cannot emphasize to enough that if you let a side drop off, it closes a huge amount down. Are they combining the senses? So if we're going to be doing patter cake, are we getting our motor skills working, our sound and our vision working, so that we're doing everything together? We've got to keep it fun. They're tiny. They have a very short attention span. And don't make it hard for yourself or expensive. Most things can be done for free. These activities were just possible in the 1960s with no expensive marketing, no plastic rubbish. Children have been developing for a long time. And I would suggest sharing with other families, so you don't all buy the same toy. You actually talk to each other and buy different toys, or buy a set of something and split it up. I often do that. I split toys and puzzles up if they come with several in one pack. Have a long list of ideas ready, because sometimes you're just tired, and if you just think of a clever idea at that point, they go away for an hour and have a really good piece of constructive play. But if it all gets a bit grisly, then everybody gets miserable. So as well as getting left and right working, we also need to think posture. If they're sitting up at a table, make sure their feet are square on the floor. You don't want them sitting with their legs crossed on the chair. You want them nice and upright. In an ideal situation, if they're doing something that involves reading, the table is at a 22-degree angle. There are plenty of lever arch files, old ones people are throwing out, you can use to create a little nice angle. Please, 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 please avoid children W-sitting, because that's going to reverse all the good work you're doing. So W-sitting is a definite no-no. Nice legs crossed, lying stretched out, just shapes where the body works properly, not W-sitting. And your ideas. This is not Brain of Britain, this is child development. And this is child development on the cheap. So number one I always do is obstacle courses. Kids love making obstacle courses, and it can be cheap. You can be in a bed sit and make an obstacle course. So they've got to crawl across the bed, go under the table, climb over the chair, maybe step across various pieces of cardboard, and you can pretend they're lily pads, back onto the bed. The children can move the furniture. The children can create tunnels with anything. You've got to hand, cardboard, sheets, whatever. Don't make it expensive. Making the obstacle course and putting it up and down is really good cognitive exercise. And then it's a lot of fun doing it, and then the children want to move it and redesign it. It's cheap, it's free, do it. And you can do it inside or out. So if you're in a very cramped environment with no play space, it is still possible. Picking up toys off the floor, I came to the conclusion probably the best thing to do is have some music, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and you have a game where you alternate hands to pick up the toys at the end of the day. And you might score yourselves to see how many are left at the end of the music or something. But you're making it into a game and you're alternating hands. If they're good with their feet, you can get them to pick things up with their feet. Anything, but turn it into a game. And then you get your house tidied more cheaply. Hide and seek, great game. The child doesn't have a sense of spatial awareness. They've got to develop it. They've got to understand where they can't be seen by you. If you need 5 minutes peace, this is an excellent game. The longer you take finding them, the more peaceful your life is. Simon Says. And Simon Says a great body discovery. Simon says, put your hands up. Simon says, put your hands down. Simon says, put your hands behind your back, in front of you. All the rest. You're teaching the child where their body is. You're getting them to jump forwards, jump backwards, jump to the side by the window, the side by the wardrobe. Whatever, you're getting them to move and understand space. You're getting them to be behind the chair, you're getting them to be in front of the chair. All of those things are massively teaching a child where they are in space, to follow auditory instructions and to process better. Tents and picnics. I think most of my childhood camped in the garden. Children love building tents. It's very cheap, you just use an old sheet. If you haven't got an old sheet, use a blanket or a new sheet. But somehow, with some chairs and with, the washing line, make a tent. And even better, they're enjoying having this little home of their own, which they'll lay things out and they'll organise. So that's helping with all sorts of organisational skills. It's helping with a sense of inside and outside. And they often like to go and eat there, which is really good because they're eating very happily because it's them that's organising it and it's all fun. The same with building dens. I was an absolute beaver as a child. I loved building dens. Doesn't need to be anything really terrific, but it's such fun if you're a child to have your own space and organise it. And of course, the whole process of making, building, organising is all cognitive work. And as they're doing it, you're really looking for how they move, because they need massive repetition to build core strength, to get control of motor skills, vision, to communicate, to develop the skills of communicating with other people as they're building them. And then there's the whole cooking business. If they're very little, you might make the pizza bases for them and chop up the ingredients, but you're helping them place and put things on a pizza. And there has the reassuring feature that when it goes in the oven, it's sterilised by the effect of the oven. So you don't have to worry too much about the hygiene standards. All of those things, like decorating cakes, they might be a little boring task to an adult, but to a child, they are very good hand-eye coordination. Getting the cherry in the middle is actually quite hard. Looking with two eyes is quite hard. Putting flowers on, choosing what you're going to put on. And they're really good cognitive activities. They don't take that long and they're fun. And the child can then go and offer them to other people. The game I love is the collage. You draw around the child and you rip up various different coloured things or put on cloth and you decorate the child. So you've got the feet in possibly boots and you've got on some trousers and you've got on a jumper or whatever, you've got the head, the hands, and through doing that the child starts understanding how the body fits together as a whole. Things like making beds, really good physical activity, it's good to do together. Sorting the laundry and loading the washing machine. There's a lot of movement, hand, eye, brain, sorting, talking about why you're doing what you're doing and making it a fun activity. And at the end, thank them because they've been such a good team member and so helpful. And it's good for their self-esteem. It makes them feel part of the society. And then things like climbing trees or rocks or hills. I take children out onto unstable ground to force them to get to see where their hands are and their feet are, because they honestly, a lot of them have no idea. And until they start sliding and they've got to start stopping themselves, they can't, they won't engage with it. Once they start realizing it's quite fun to climb, then they're away and they start getting much better understanding of where their feet are. But sometimes you literally have to go to the woods and let them fall over and fall over and fall over. And you keep reminding them, look where your feet are, look where you're going to put your feet, look at the path ahead, keep your head up, plan how you're going to put your feet. Is there a big puddle? Well, we need to plan to go round. Is it unstable? Well, we need to plan to go round that. Or we need to plan how we're going to put our feet. All that needs talking through. And they get a really good sense eventually of where their body is in space and how to control it and how to move. Things like these cheap stilts, they're kind of quite fun. I suspect you can make your own, to be honest, out of old tins or something. And it just, again, heightens the child's awareness. The string they're having to control with their hands, it heightens their awareness of their feet are. So it's quite a useful thing to do, to heighten that body awareness, which is really important because later when they come to do maths, if they haven't got any body awareness, maths just doesn't work. Matching games, dominoes, snap. There's a very good game called Blink where you have to match the number of items on a card, or the shapes, or the colour. And when I play it, I ask the children to say snap colour, or snap shape, or snap number. Or if it's a combination, they've got to tell me how many different ways it is a match. That really helps with matching and colouring and sorting and understanding. Doddle the same, you're learning how to look for the item that matches on two cards. Building games. Kids love building. Get out the bricks, get out the Duplo, go and get the tins out of the cupboard. Because often actually they get more fun out of tins and cardboard boxes than they do out of anything you've paid any money for. And go down to charity shops, ask your friends who've got older children, because these are often quite expensive toys, but they can go through a washing machine, be completely sterilised, and lo and behold, you've got a brand new toy again. And they're more fun when you've got lots of them anyway, but they are pretty indestructible, so they can go down the generations. Acting out favourite rhymes and stories, and if you're working with sound therapy equipment, so this is a forebrain. If I've got the child working and reciting a poem or something, I might get them creating an audio vocal loop so that as we go along singing, we're going on a bear hunt, and as we're acting it out, I'm also enhancing the audio vocal loop. Don't need to do it for very long a day with a small child, maybe 10 minutes, but after I've taken the equipment off, the speech and language will be enhanced. We can go on playing it. So back in my dark past, my son loved I Am the Music Man. Enhancing the sound for first few verses and then taking it away and getting them to go on singing. You know, I am the music man and I come from down your way and I can play piano, pia, pia, piano, 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 pia, pia, piano, pia, piano. And so you've got actions, you've got singing, and you can integrate sound, things like sound therapy, because you literally are doing 10, 20 minutes a day with small children. But the more fun you make it, the more they want to do it. With children who've got language delay, it can get very, very exciting. And you have to balance the fact they're so enjoying getting an audio vocal loop against you don't want them to overdose. So really useful to tie in. Dressing up. Dressing up's good because they're having to look and do buttons, they're having to tie things, they're having to work out how to manipulate things around their body. It all develops spatial awareness, it develops sense of self, it enables them to experiment with different self-images. Things like putting cars on roadways, you get that movement of the car going over the midline. We're getting the eyes, the hand, the brain working across a bigger spatial area. And lo and behold, we're getting our midline crossing developing mentally. Things like playing shop, children love doing. You just get the groceries out of the cupboard. Playing and seeing games. So I might play a game going, I can see a ball. And we all look at the ball that's close to. Or I might say, oh, I can see the top of a tree. And we all look at. And I walked past a family yesterday who were looking at the robins singing in a tree. And they were really enjoying it. And changing your focal point and pointing things out as you go is very good for visual development. Obviously go and use charity shops, just don't burden yourself with 1,000,001 costs, hugely expensive toys, and take used toys back to the charity shop. My local charity shop's fabulous. It really is the recycling centre for our community. And you can go in there and get toys and books and all sorts of exciting resources for dressing up. It costs next to nothing, and everybody then puts it all back again a few months later. Use every walk you go on. As soon as you're walking out the door, there's chances for jumping and climbing and talking and pointing and looking. Use them. Children like to engage in absolutely every bit of rubbish. Talk to the neighbours, talk to the shopkeepers. Engage. Hide behind lampposts, climb on walls. And avoid stress, because we've got to keep the child calm. It's got to be fun. It isn't a mission which is meeting a government target and you're going to pass or fail. This is fun, this is being in tune, and being in tune is really important. So children like to have a routine. That gives them security. They know we get up, we have breakfast, we wash, we always make the beds, we tidy the house, and that's our team activity. We prepare lunch, we have lunch, we go out for our activity. You know, later we make our tent, eat tea in the garden while mother lies on the sofa. But, you know, and then we have our quiet time. So it's about keeping your sanity. Can't emphasize enough, if you don't have to put a child in a pushchair, don't. Children in pushchairs are far too long, and they are not walking, and we need to learn to walk. So I am often saying to parents of teenagers, this child needs to walk. It is only through walking will the body really come to a good posture, will the body really learn how to control itself. You can't just do it through exercises. Walking is something that takes hours. We are hunter-gatherers. We walk. So get the children out. If you don't have to drive somewhere, walk there. By the time you've walked to the park and walked back, it's really good exercise. And the child really starts developing their muscles and their gait and their everything. Keep your sanity. Make sure you've built into your routine time for you to relax. Time for you to build your relationship with your partner, time for you to have friendships, so that there are definite clear points when you are with your friends and in tune, and mum's come round, or auntie from next door, somebody is doing something interesting with the children who you trust, and you have time with your friends in tune. Children have an incredibly short attention span, that's why you need the great list. And it doesn't matter if they start something 1 minute and then go and do something else. Just put it neatly to one side, come back to it later. You know, doesn't really matter. What matters is we're moving ourselves, we're interested. Think about light levels in the 2 or 3 hours before sleep. Start letting natural light determine things. So try and get them away from screens, Even your home lighting, think about how bright it is. You want the child to start getting a bit desperate to go to sleep. And you want it to be a quiet time that's cuddly and a bit of reading, a bath, all nice, calming stuff. And if you've had a time with your friends, you've got the energy to deal with that bedtime and keeping it calm and being very focused and in tune with their needs. And of course, you've got to think about diet. Our diet is so different from what it was when I was a child. It's massively sugar-based, massive amount of processed food, high salt levels. And you should think, well, if my great-grandmother wouldn't have put it in her mouth, should I? Because food is much better and much cheaper made from scratch if you possibly can. And if you're going to give snacks, try and keep them, fruit-based or whatever. Cheese straws made out of old pastry. Children need to be in tune with you. There's a huge amount of non-verbal communication going on. They are developing their social skills. There is a very good book by a woman called Siobhan Boyce, which goes through in detail that 80% of communication is non-verbal, and that we need to spend time in tune with children, explaining that communication is, as she says, not just talking. There's a lot more. And so you do have to put your phone away, because if you're always on the phone, you're giving a very rude message to the people you're with. I think we have to see phones as electronic receptionists. And when we're ready, we have a look at the messages. We're in danger of making them a tagging system where we're constantly responding to them. And that's not good for a developing child who we're with. It's not good for our other relationships. So turn them off, chuck them in the bag. And have a strategy for when you've had enough. That's why I have the picnic in the garden strategy, because the child can go and sit in the garden, have their picnic. In an ideal time, they'd have their friends there, perfectly happy, and you can just lie on the sofa with your head in a bucket, whatever. You're exhausted, and it's all right. Or you're having your time with your friends, and Gran's coming round. Whatever. Work as a community. Keep yourself sane. So, cognitive processing is everything. Make it active, both sides of the body, good posture. Stay in tune, have fun. I will be around tomorrow, and thank you for listening.